if aliens do exist, who do you think should make first contact and represent the human race? Hello world, and welcome to Elevated Intuition. And I recently saw that question, and it opens up a whole host of possibilities and ideas on things that we value, because of course the people that we would want to represent us should represent our values, right? They should represent all of us as a whole. If they're meeting with an alien race or an alien Federation of Light, as it were, like the Galactic Federation of Light. And I thought that would be a great topic for a video. I also the GFL, Galactic Federation of Light. I haven't done a video for a while, and I love doing this subject because I come out and discuss it. I get your feedback. There's always a lot of comments, a lot of very thoughtful comments, so I appreciate everybody who comments, and I love this subject and I love expanding it. So thank you for joining me, and if you are just looking for the tarot reading that I do to accompany these videos, I have the timestamps down below. And I love these because it's like bigger picture stuff. It's like life purpose stuff. It is like soul purpose stuff. And I think this question that we're talking about, like who would represent us, it is also life purpose and soul purpose kind of things, because it talks about our values and it talks about people who represent those values, we'll say. So what I will discuss is what I saw and what people's thoughts were, because that is very interesting too. And I wonder if you guys are on the same wavelength as that, because it wasn't really a very spiritual community. It was just thrown out there to everyone. And I think a lot of these GFL videos that I do are people who do believe in the GFL, who do receive messages. And that's, I like when I'm like, okay, who would represent us with first contact if there isn't already first contact? Because I do think that there are people who are channeling them and who are getting messages from them. So like maybe first contact's already been made. But the people who came up, and it was really interesting thoughts that was going on out there. First of all, a lot of people said, not a politician. Like, I don't care who represents us, but not a politician. And I find that interesting because the typical person or people or group who would represent us, or that we actually like vote in to represent us on other things, well, they're politicians. But it's interesting how a lot of people are showing a lot of distrust in the government for good reasons. Not necessarily going into that in this video, but I completely understand that. So if not a politician, then a lot of people were suggesting Michelle Obama, which I think she would fall under the category of politician. Even though she was a first lady, she actually didn't run for anything. You have to be pretty political to do that, to be in her position. So that was one of them. I mean, I think of the first ladies, like she was pretty political versus, you know, Hillary probably being the most political first lady. But, you know, Laura Bush, you didn't really hear much political stuff from her, but you know, anyway, so could be a first lady, you know, which would be a positive. It would be somebody, you know, who is familiar with a leadership role, let's say, and who may have more, you know, a broader scope of representation because of who she is. So that was one. Elon Musk was a big one. You know, he's somebody who has already shown a great interest in space, has pushed for space exploration. He is somebody who isn't necessarily, I mean, he's kind of political, but he's not necessarily liberal. He's not necessarily conservative. He seems to be a little bit more in the middle, let's say, than other politicians. But I think that a billionaire is probably pretty political. However, he is a business owner, so he understands, you know, there's a lot of people who he employs and who he, you know, so I'm just saying like somebody like that, not necessarily him, would understand like, you know, maybe a little bit more if you have this kind of responsibility over people, that you own a business, that you employ people, that you are keeping things going. So he was one person. Who else did they say? Oh, one of the most interesting things I think was said, and this goes along with more of my train of thought, is like a child. Somebody who's innocent, somebody who's pure, somebody who does have a great heart. But I think that's like, I mean, this would have to be an exceptional child, right? And if they did encompass some pushback, you know, that isn't really fair to put a child in that position. Somebody who I really like that isn't political, and probably celebrities aren't the greatest either, because they, you know, tend to be a little narcissistic, a little, you know, you kind of have to question somebody who chases fame. But Jamie Foxx would be somebody who I would put on the delegation. I'd put Elon Musk and Jamie Foxx. Jamie Foxx is he's just, you know, if you look at him, he's just a really good person. Like, he helps other people. He does, you know, there's stories of like starving artists, like sleeping on his couch and him helping them out. And I think that is kind of like really pure intentions there. And I appreciate that. But still, there's still a problem with like, does this person really encompass my values? So my ultimate, and I'd love to hear who your ultimate is, the best delegate to represent you with the Galactic Federation of Light, or with any alien source. And I think my thinking is right, because we haven't seen, you know, everybody who wants confirmation that aliens exist, they really want to see a spaceship like land on the lawn of the White House, right? We haven't seen that. Why is that? Because maybe the White House doesn't represent everybody. Maybe it doesn't represent the human race. Why hasn't it happened at other countries? Like, why hasn't one landed in Moscow? Well, you know, there's problems with every sort of kind of leader, right? Even if ideally there shouldn't be. But my thinking is like, the best person to connect with like a higher vibration or a higher life form to represent you is you. And I think that's part of it's part of like a whole thing that we're moving into. You know, we're coming out of, like, if we look at the world through the lens of astrology, we're coming out of the age of Pisces, moving into the age of Aquarius. And the age of Aquarius is more about being an individual, being who you are, standing up and just being that person and encompassing it. And it's a lot of, if you look at things through a spiritual lens, and people talking about like higher vibrations and ascension and going to the next level of consciousness. And that also kind of encompasses a lens of psychology, because going to another level of consciousness is kind of a psychological thing as well. So spiritually and psychologically, having a distrust in people that the government, or people that we have traditionally trusted to work for our interests, and we no longer trust that anymore. So where does that leave us? And I think that there is a lot of anxiety around the idea that aliens exist, or that the Galactic Federation of Light, or what is another one? The Galactic Federation of Worlds is another one. And I don't know if they're the same or if they're different. because I've heard it expressed both ways. I've heard it expressed that they are different organizations, and I've heard it expressed that they're the same, and honestly, I don't know, but I'd love to hear what you have to say. I just am drawn to personally that there is life in the universe that is not us. So I love discussing first contact, and I love the idea of, you know, what it is, and I do believe that there is alien life that exists out there. I don't, do they care about us? I don't know. There's a lot of reasons why the people say that they do. Benevolent beings who just care about life. You know, are they so advanced that they just see us like a collective, like we're a beehive in a way? Or are we just interesting? Are we the Real Housewives Earth to them? Some type of reality show? Or do they really want to help us? Because we seem to very much be struggling over this advancement that we've had, because we've advanced really rapidly as a species. And there's reasons for that. There's, you know, there's biological and psychological reasons for that we have advanced so much over other species on Earth. First of all, it's a consciousness that we recognize each other. It is, gosh, there's an awesome book, and I will put it in here, about us working together, that our specialization is that we're simultaneously specialized in everything and nothing all at once. But we can share and we can collaborate and we can talk to each other and we can bounce ideas off of each other and we can learn from each other. And that has helped us advance so much, but we're still kind of like these weak primates without a lot of hair that are very vulnerable and don't quite fully understand our power. And that's what I find interesting, that I understand that. So I hope that other people do as well. Understand like how vulnerable we are, how much maybe that we do need a little bit of assistance and some help. And hopefully there are people or beings out there that know a little bit more than we do, that can help guide us along so that we don't do something stupid and end ourselves and end our beautiful planet in the process. So that is my understanding and hope and what I think. And, you know, I think you as an individual is so, so important. I think me as an individual is so, so important. And our voices are important and we are important. And now let's get to the reading to talk about why we're important and our ultimate roles in the world and in the universe. Hello, and thank you for joining me for this Messages from the Galactic Federation of Light reading. I think I mentioned this earlier that I love these readings because they tend to be very much about higher purpose, soul purpose type readings, and that is definitely my intent and purpose here for you. So very kind of esoteric, very kind of, you know, higher purpose, soul purpose type thing. So I have 3 options here for you. I will be placing objects here in a moment if you like to pick with objects. And this is the point where you get to use your intuition to pick the number, card, pile, object that speaks to you, and then meet me at the timestamp down below, and I will use my intuition to read those cards for you. So pick a card reading means you do that. You pick the card and you go there and that's your reading. If it doesn't resonate, that's okay. You can pick another one, or you can just take the messages that resonate. You know, and sometimes it's just not for you, and that's okay as well. So for group number 1, this is orange Goldstone. For group number 2, this is, it's a green and kind of pink stone. It's Unakite. And for group number 3, this one is all pink. It's pink Mookaite. So if you're still not sure, you can take some deep breaths with me. I'm going to go ahead and close my eyes and take a deep breath in. And release and set the intention that you're going to hear what you need to hear, the messages that you need to hear, what is going to help you most right now. Take another deep breath in. And release. Okay, just be in this moment. Go ahead and open your eyes, and wherever your eyes are drawn to, that is the pile for you. It's just that easy. So thank you again so much. Again, oh, also my woodwick candle. You can hear that? You hear that crackling? Yeah, that's from the candle. So, but it's just a fun candles that I wanted to use. So sorry about the flickering candle, but that's what it is. So, but thank you so much. Thanks for being here, and I'll meet you at your reading. Hello, group 1. If you picked the Goldstone, you are in the right spot. So you're probably going to be hearing some hissing noises. That is this woodwick candle. Sorry about that. And let's go ahead and find some cards here for you, some connections for you. What does the Galactic Federation want you to know, group 1? So solar plexus chakra. The frequency of the solar plexus chakra, the yellow flame of life, supports our sense of self, our personal power, and our willpower, as well as our knowing of who we are and what our contribution is to the whole. So this is really important, I think, for you to understand. You are more powerful than you think you are. You are not just a busy bee in the middle of like the collective. I mean, in a sense you are, because you connect to other people, but in like a bee colony, if they lose one of the worker bees, it's not such a big deal. They still have the queen. In our situation though, it's more like, hey, we are a group of queen bees, if you will, working together. And yes, you are really important to my success and everybody's success around you. But you're important, and you're an integral part of that. You are not replaceable. And I feel like, you know, in the beginning of this video, if you watch the whole thing, I talked about going from the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius. This is about a 2,200 year period, and we're in the transition of that. We're in the very early stages of that. But Aquarius is a sign of individuality. Aquarius is a sign of, you know, you being you don't answer to an authority. It's more of a, it's more of a collective in a way, because it is not like, you're not given a role by somebody else for you to go and accomplish. You're accomplishing your own role, and you're finding your own way, and it's very, very powerful. Yeah, so I think that's all very interesting here, because the card that popped out, intuition, very cool. Lots of yellow here for you. That's what because when it kind of like popped out, and I'm like, oh, that's definitely goes here. So I love both of these card decks because this is more like abstract, and it uses a bunch of different colors, but not all the cards are yellow. And the same here with this this deck too. This deck talks about specific sacred geometry. And so I love that they kind of complement each other here in the intuition. And we've got 3 and we've got 39. Intuition is really, really important. It is discernment is one thing. So you know what's right for you. You're not looking to somebody else to, I mean, you do look to somebody else because you bounce off ideas and you get a sense of what's going on, or you get a sense of what they think, but you don't have to form your entire opinion off of what somebody else thinks or what they do. It's not a step-by-step kind of thing where you follow in their footsteps and do exactly what they are. We're not robots here. Even though, like I said, you know, we form this kind of chain together in what we're doing and where we're going. You need to use your intuition, and intuition is very individualistic. Right? It is your gut feeling, and the solar plexus goes back to that gut feeling. Because that is like the location of it. The second concentration of serotonin in your body outside of your brain is your gut, you know, that gut feeling, that gut solar plexus. And I feel like a lot of times intuition is really more of that gut feeling, you know, run it past your gut. Of course, your head is there, where you think and the logic, but sometimes you can't always trust what you think because there are other things that cloud your judgment, and the intuition is very pure. And if you just have that gut feeling of something isn't right, trust that, because you're somebody who's very in tune with those types of things, those types of gut feelings. And I'm going to get another one of these cards and see what other messages we have for you. Galactic Federation of Light would like you to know. The unfolding rose cracked open. It's happening for you, not to you. Very nice. So the geometric shape in this solar plexus chakra here is actually called the flower of life. So I love that you have the unfolding rose. Rose is also, what is that? Oh gosh, I can't remember the it's not the rule of thirds, but it kind of goes into that. It's the way that it forms too, there's a geometric pattern to it. The golden rule, the golden ratio, but there's another name of it that is escaping me right now. And the way that things unfold, like there's a reason and there's a purpose for it. A lot of times when change happens or when change occurs, we feel like something is happening to us, right? And I feel like when it's saying it's happening for you, not to you, it kind of gets us out of that victim mentality of like why is this happening to me? Why is it always me? Why? And it's because there's a higher purpose. It's for your best interest. It's for your growth. It's for you to move. It's for you to become who you are going to become. The challenge of life is to keep your heart open when you most want to close it, to let life crack you open, to be open through hurt and loss, to allow what is falling away to fall away. Being human is a courageous act. A life well lived is full of losses and tragedies, as much as triumphs and adventure. Whenever you find yourself at the moment, the life is coaxing you to keep an open heart. no matter how much it hurts, to continually unfold, to let life crack you open. Perhaps you're going through a difficult time right now. Instead of cursing the difficulty, see it as a blessing to open yourself up to truth that perhaps, as hard as it may be, life is happening for you, not to you. One day, in the not so distant future, you may just bless the thing that broke you down and cracked you open, because the world needs you open. Now is the time to go gently, to treat yourself like a tender, sweet baby, to wrap yourself in a blanket and trust the mother that the mother has you cradled in her arms. The seas may not be smooth sailing, but you are safe and you are held. One day not too far from today, you will look back at the transformation and be blown away by the poetry of life. Everything is going to be okay. I love that. We all have challenges. It is how we accept them and use them and face them that is the important thing. And I feel like the guidance here is that use your intuition, that you are more powerful than you know. And a lot of times when we are feeling like we're being cracked open, when we're feeling that life is happening to us, not for us, like that victim mentality, we forget that. Okay, we've got the Tower reversed. Yeah, I'm just pulling some more cards here. The Hanged Being. And let's get one more. Let's get two more. Or let's get one more now. The Queen of Cups. Very nice. So I wanted to use this deck because this is called the Cosmo Beings deck. So all the things that I talked to you about, especially this unfolding rose, and we get the Tower reversed coming out. The Tower is about taking you down to the foundation. It is life happening to you. At least that's how you feel. The things are coming at you fast. We have this lightning, and it kind of feels like it's out of our control. The blessing in that, and we have it in reverse, because I kind of feel like this has already happened to you, and now we're kind of picking up the pieces from that, and you're hopefully finding the blessings in that it like swept away or took away things that you needed to reconsider, that you needed to rethink, that you needed to adjust from and grow from. And that is our Tower in reverse. We also have the Hanged Being here. Both of these cards too, by the way, the Tower and the Hanged Being, are major arcana cards. So these are major lessons. These are major energies. The Hanged Being is somebody, even though this card looks like it's in reverse, he's intentionally hanging upside down because we're looking at the situation from a new perspective. I love that he's holding on to like these eyeballs here, as kind of like looking at something with new eyes. That we can reframe things. And I almost feel like it's something that you need to reframe from the past when we've got the Tower reversed. When you look back at a situation and you feel like anger or sadness around it, how can you reframe it to understand that it wasn't necessarily that it wasn't personal, that it didn't intend to scar you or hurt you that bad, and that you can stitch the scar back together in a more beautiful and a more positive way, that you can gain strength from that. There's these webs here, kind of like this being almost is like a spider hanging upside down, and spiders create. But there you might, the being is also though just kind of hanging out in this one spot, looking, evaluating, and there's a pause here. So it doesn't feel like I was going to say, it doesn't feel like there's a lot of movement other than we've got the Knight of Wands. I think it's really important, though, that before you go off and move, because if you're feeling stagnant at the moment, that's not going to last forever. And you need to have a plan around that or heal from your past before we can move forward, because the Knight of Wands and the Queen of Cups are very, very powerful cards for you to move forward from. The Knight of Wands is about passion. The Queen of Cups is about our emotions. And sometimes when we move with passion, we don't necessarily have our emotions in check. But the Queen of Wands, or the Queen of Cups here, is somebody who does. She creates with emotions. She uses her emotions to create. And I kind of feel like that's part of this intuition and part of the solar plexus chakra, that what is it you are feeling in your gut that you want to create? How do you want to create things? And remember that nothing is too small. We often think that we need to do something that impacts the entire universe, right? To make a difference. But that's not true. The biggest way that we make a difference is by joining with others who are also making a difference. And the biggest way that we make a difference is through, well, for you, it is getting in touch with your intuition and moving forward from not letting your past hurt you and hold you back. For you, that is what you need to do. And that is how you're going to move forward to create. Okay? So intuition is so, so important. You need to listen to yourself, get in tune with yourself. The Queen of Cups is also somebody who's very, very much in tune with her intuition, because she's in tune with her emotions, and your emotions are kind of your guide with that intuition. And the Knight of Wands is somebody who moves. He goes someplace and he can go there very, very quickly. So even if you're feeling like you're stuck right now, circumstances can change in a moment, in an instant. But you to make sure that life is happening for you, you need to see it and kind of sculpt it out and plan it and go, okay, if life is happening for me, I want life to move in this direction, okay? And then, using your intuition and your emotions that can help guide you in how you want your life to move in that direction, and it will start moving in that way. The Queen of Cups is also somebody who feels very fulfilled emotionally. And I feel like that is what is really important for you at this time, to connect with your emotions, to feel them, to understand, and maybe reframe some of your negative experiences, to understand that it is moving you into this, to who you are supposed to be. Okay? Because you can guide yourself. Even if you've had a tower moment, even if you've had disappointments, even if you've had some trauma, because we all have. We've all had that. It's not the time to give up, though. It's the time to maybe meditate it around those things and to think about it. And you can absolutely move forward, and you can absolutely be a complete and full being, a complete and full person, and you are meant to be that. You are meant to be happy. You are meant to experience joy. You are meant to move forward with success. Okay? So that is what I have for you, Group 1. I hope that you have a fantastic day. Thank you so much for joining me here, and I hope to see you in the next reading. Hello, Group 2. If you picked the Unakite, which is this green crystal with these green and pink crystal, you are in the right spot. So let's go ahead and take a look at the messages from the Galactic Federation of Light. And I want to start off with these cards. And we get discernment. Okay, very cool. I think discernment is so important, especially when we talk about, well, anything. I saw something about misinformation or disinformation or, fake news, all that stuff. And the thing is there's no such thing as misinformation or disinformation. It's all information. It is whether you believe it or not, or you trust it or not. And that is where your discernment comes in. So for you, discernment is meant to be a superpower. So 20, discernment. The frequency of discernment supports our ability to view the world and people around us from a place of inner balance and detachment, yet with compassion and wisdom. So I feel like it's really important to, detachment is important, because there's a lot of times when we hear something and we just believe it because we want it to be true. And I feel like that happens a lot, especially around politics, that because it's somebody that we're supposed to like and that's what their view is, that's our view too. And I feel like, when I talked about this in the intro to this video, astrology-wise, moving from the age of, and for some reason I feel like this is really important, and it came up in the last reading too, when we're moving from the age of Pisces to the age of Aquarius, and these ages last around 2,200 years, that it's really important to understand that our leaders or people that we've held on like a pedestal, or we thought we knew what they were doing, that they're not really that different than you and I. Maybe there are different subjects of study that they know more about, but they are human. They are flawed. They do not have, the only person that they can have at their own best interest is themselves. And I also really question somebody who wants that type of fame or notoriety, or wants to have a position where they speak for you or speak for everybody as well. And going from the age of Pisces, we really did have trust in a small group of people who were the ruling class. And the age of Pisces was kind of kicked off by Christ. It's kind of the Christ age. And we have Jesus Christ as a person who, painted as that person, would be like the ideal leader, who would have everybody's best interest at heart. But that's not really happened since him. Maybe Buddha, maybe the Dalai Lama, somebody like that. But, again, that's my own discernment there. I'm using, who would be selfless enough to be able to represent everyone. This is so interesting because the colors are so important in this particular deck. It's really interesting that they've been matching the colors in this, because the colors in this deck are vastly different. The colors in this deck are actually vastly different too. So as we've been coming out, as these cards have been coming out, it's interesting that they connect on that level too, the level of color. And this is a more abstract, and this is a more kind of controlled, and this is the card control. So I find that interesting as well when I'm drawing parallels to these cards. So Aldous Huxley said, "Who controls the past controls the future." And that was in Brave New World, I believe. And what's really important about that is kind of the idea of history. And if you control the past, you don't even have to have controlled the past, but they were like rewriting history to control the future. And I think that's really, I find that interesting that is the quote that goes with control in this book, because it so goes with discernment too. Because there's a lot of times you hear things, disinformation, misinformation, and you need to use your discernment, otherwise somebody is going to use you to control you. Control is to watch over the state of something or situation. It is to observe, act, and direct it for a specific purpose. So for manipulation, we cannot control other people. We sometimes can barely control ourselves. And I'm talking about you as an individual. However, I do feel like, back again to this age of Pisces, age of Aquarius thing. The age of Pisces, I do believe that there were large populations, and there still are, that were under a specific control and were manipulated for a purpose. The controlling purpose has power over what he or she controls, and this can lead to excess, especially when applying control over people against their will. The environment gets worse, and we get the opposite of the expected results. So I kind of feel like, it also reminds me of the control the controllables kind of thing. There are certain things that are just out of our control, and we cannot, and those seem to be the things that are brought up to help manipulate us, those things that are out of our control. Because it is often like expressed, well, if your behavior is this way, then, this evil, horrible thing wouldn't happen. If you put this specific thing on your social media, then you are a good person, even though it's basically meaningless if you do that. But it helps somebody in the way of controlling you. And, so with your discernment, this idea of control, or the balance of it, who controls you, who controls the world, who controls people, and is there even really a way to control it? And the next card is, you're already doing it. Stop overthinking. Keep facing your true north. I love the idea of the North Star, because it really helps with discernment as well. When you can define your values, your hierarchy of things that are important to you, and focus on that. The you're already doing it part. A lot of times we're like, how do I start? What do I do? How do I do this? And you just do it, right? And going back to the old Nike slogan, which I think was probably their best one, you just do it. And it's kind of funny that this comes after kind of control and discernment, because it says, do not question things so much. You are on the right track. You are facing the right way. Stop overthinking it. It's happening, and you are closer than you think. You're exactly where you need to be, and things are moving at the perfect speed. Do not rush it. Now is not the time to be impatient. Now is the time to walk steady. This reminds me of, I think it's a Navy, who has a saying that is it smooth is slow, or slow is smooth and smooth is fast? I think that's it. Slow is smooth and smooth is fast. And if you think about it, you're like, that. When you hear it, it doesn't really make sense. But if you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. It's focused not so much on doing something quickly, but on doing it well, on being steady with it, on doing the work, on that grinding, on the day-to-day, on the showing up. and making it smooth. And that smooth action is then what makes it fast. If you just focus on a task and you're like, I gotta make this fast, and chances are you're not going to make it fast. You have to focus on the steps, and then that makes it fast. So what do I do now? What do I do now? What do I do now? A lot of times if you get overwhelmed, it's time to back off of that and to move away from it and come back to it later. And a lot of times when you back off of it and move away from it, just to get that space from it, to take a breath, to relax, you are actually going to accomplish it faster than if you just went at it headlong. So don't rush, don't be impatient, just one step at a time. What you have planted will soon blossom. And it's really interesting that this card is coming up, and you know, if you're watching this when I'm uploading it, we are in springtime, at least in the northern hemisphere. So you know, think about those seasons. Everything is cyclical. It is moving, even if you can't see something moving. If you've planted that seed, you've got to trust that it is coming out for you. And with every new day, a new brick is being laid. You have come a long way. The foundations are steady. Now all that is needed is for you to trust and keep walking forward. If you thought that things should be moving faster, if you think that that enters your head, that is just your ego comparing your rising to somebody else. Comparison is not your friend. Stay in your lane, water your own garden, knowing that your time to bloom will come too. There's also another saying, comparison is the thief of joy. If I look at somebody, they're on a different journey than me anyway, right? If I look at, like, I don't know, the Kardashians for some reason, I am not on Kim Kardashian's journey, thank goodness. So, you know, if I compare myself to her, I might be disappointed, but that's not my path. That's not my journey. Okay. Yep. So we've got the, yeah, and you might have a problem here with comparison, because it looks like we do have a thief of joy, and we've got 9 of Wands. Okay. So the major arcana card here we have is the Magician, but the Magician is reversed. And I feel like this is you. And I feel like maybe you don't feel like you have the discernment. Maybe you feel a little bit out of control. I think that you're already doing it is a very, very positive message for you that you need to focus on here. Especially when we've got the Magician reversed. We've got the 5 of Pentacles, the 10 of Swords, but the 10 of Swords is reversed. That's a good one. And we've got the 9 of Wands. Still though, 9 of Wands is somebody who is like kind of wary. You're feeling like you're battle worn. You're feeling like things have been coming at you. Very much the same feeling of the 5 of Pentacles. But you going back to this message of you're already doing it is like, hang in there. You're working through it. I feel like right now might be the worst of it for you, because the 5 of Pentacles talks about, like, you can see this little being, he's looking down, and it's raining or snowing on him, and he just does not see an end to this. But like this card says, you kind of got to look up. You got to look at your north. You've got to look for something here that you're walking towards or you're walking to. And this is the positive, that there are people there for you, that you are not alone, that there are people here that want to help you. And you might be wary for you, because the 10 of Swords can talk about people who have talked about you behind your back, can be talk about, like, these are the people who have stuck these swords in your back. They're not your tribe. They're not your friends, but you may have thought that they were. That's okay, because part of discernment is figuring out who should be in your circle. I almost feel like I'm getting a vibe from this people pleaser, everything to everyone vibe. And I think that might be why your Magician here is reversed. Because what's really interesting about this is when you try to be everything to everyone, you kind of lose yourself. And I feel like you need to be you. You need to be yourself. You need to take yourself out of these battles of, fighting for attention from everyone, making everyone happy. That's not going to happen. It's never going to happen. And that could be part of the control as well, because we want to, I'm an ex-people pleaser, I'm a reformed people pleaser, where I want everyone around me to be happy. I still find myself falling into that at times, but you can't not control what other people think about you. And that's okay. You can just be the best you, and if they're not part of your tribe, they're not part of your tribe. It's not like that's okay. That everybody has to like you. It's more powerful to have a few really good people by your side who like you for who you are than a bunch of people who like you for who you pretend to be. I'm also a Gemini. I don't know if you are as well, but Geminis tend to be kind of chameleons, and we kind of, empaths too, will match energies with other people and try to, they often put other people's feelings above their own because you can feel other people's feelings. But in like the 10 of Swords here, I feel like also discernment is kind of like, hey, you need to be careful with who you let in, whose emotions you let you let past here. It is okay to say no. It's okay to put that protection. It doesn't mean you don't like somebody. It doesn't mean that you wish them ill. It doesn't mean that there's anything negative about them or about you if they're not in your circle. And I don't know if you see this, but there's definitely like a circle around here and then intertwining circles around here. And I almost feel like this is the Venn diagram of your perfect solution here, and you don't have to include everyone in it, and that is okay. There is a saying, I'm throwing out all of these sayings today. It was Eleanor Roosevelt's, like, people cannot make you feel inferior without your consent, which means that you have to give power to them for them to make you feel inferior. And that's where I'm going to tackle this magician, because I feel like this magician energy should be you. You should understand your power. You should be standing in your power and understand like what an amazing manifester you are, what an amazing creator you are. You are a co-creator here in this universe. Co-creator doesn't mean though that you have to agree with everyone around you. A co-creator doesn't mean though that you have to make everybody around you like you. The best way to make people like you, or at least the right people, is to make you like yourself. And I think that's what's really, really important, because all of these other cards, like the 5 of Pentacles, the 10 of Swords, and the 9 of Wands, kind of speak to the relationship that we have with other people. And it can be kind of divisive, especially if you're just looking at your relationship with other people on like social media, for example. It's really interesting how people forget that there are actually people behind those little avatars, and we can be really rude and really mean. And don't take that personally. You continue to do you. You continue to use your discernment to decide what you're going to allow in. You need to have control over you. You cannot control other people. Don't let other people manipulate you, because I feel like the 5 of Pentacles, the 10 of Swords, and the 9 of Wands here, remember, like I said, that this was like our relationship with other people. I feel like we can feel bad when other people are manipulating us or using us. But again, we are the ones who are giving them that consent to do it. And the discernment and the control is you taking it back. And how do you do that? You get out of the victim mentality that life isn't happening to you, it's happening for you. And we stop overthinking and we just keep walking and keep marching to our own drum. Because you are the magician. You can absolutely create, you can absolutely manifest, you can absolutely be this incredible, powerful being. But you have to be the person who likes you. You don't have to worry about other people liking you. And that is what I have for you, Group 2. I hope that you have a fantastic day. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to see you in the next reading. Hello, Group 3. If you picked the pink Mookaite, you are in the right spot. And thank you for joining us. So, messages from the Galactic Federation of Light. Let's see what we have here. I'm going to start off with these cards. I always like starting off with these. They are sacred geometry. So you'll see some geometry. It's very lovely messages, I think. Ooh. Merkaba 32, the frequency of Merkaba supports our ability to see, or the ability to use our consciousness to transverse into other layers of reality and dimensions. It activates our access to our Akashic inheritance as well, merging the totality of our experiences into our present to serve our highest purpose. Wow. This is really interesting that we've got kind of like this pyramid, because it looks 3D to me. Of course, we've got this pyramid here, and then we've got this one that kind of like the point is here. Pyramids are often used to kind of like harness energy or to pull in energy. And when we're talking about accessing the Akashic inheritance, like the history or information, wealth of information, it very much reminds me of our crown chakra, and purple would be represented of that, and bringing in that information. But it feels like there's information here coming from all sides, that if you are somebody who really wants to connect with the Galactic Federation of Light, this is saying you absolutely have that power to do it. You have like the whole consciousness to transverse into other layers of reality and dimensions. Wow, that is really powerful, because they often talk about alien life being interdimensional beings, that we are in the 3D, the third dimension. The ascension is us bringing humanity, anchoring in the fifth dimension energy, and going with it and go kind of pulling us there. So you are somebody who is very much a part of that. It is very much a part of your destiny to be that and to do that. And it is like, yeah, a lot of power, maybe a lot of responsibility here. And then we have 10, the law of resistance. Resistance results from the misunderstanding of the reasons hidden behind events. We focus on the situation and get attached while resisting and pushing it. The more we resist, the more we get attached. I feel like for you, the reason the law of resistance is here is because I don't think that you believe that you're as powerful as you are, and you are resisting that. And you're actually giving your power to what we are resisting. So in a way, it's kind of like the anti-law of attraction, right? Where it's the double-edged sword, where you don't necessarily want to attract weakness. You are very, very powerful, but you don't believe it in yourself. And it's not necessarily that you attract weakness, but when you don't believe that you can connect with interdimensional beings, then you really can't. You can't do it. And then you use that as like an example of, well, see, I can't, but you're already resistant to it to begin with, if that makes sense. So it's important to ask yourself, what is it that you are resisting inside of yourself? Why are you resisting such things? And it kind of reminds me of Marianne Williamson. She has this famous, often misquoted or misattributed quote from one of her books about what we really fear isn't that we're weak. What we really fear is that we're powerful beyond measure. And I kind of am getting that here. And what the Galactic Federation of Light would like to let you know is that you are actually very, very powerful. Give yourself some credit. Step into your power. Believe in yourself and stop resisting that. Let's see what else we can get here. This one wants to come out, and we have leap. You go first. The universe will catch you. Kind of feel like you might have some trust issues. You're not ready to leap. You don't think that your leap means anything. There's another saying, like when you step, like God steps with you, and it's trusting in that. The representation of that in film that I love to think about is, it's Indiana Jones, and is it The Last Crusade, where he's going through that temple. It's the one with his dad, and he has to cross this like crevasse to get to where he's going, but it doesn't look like there's anything there. And really, he just has to step forward, and he steps on this bridge that seems like it's invisible. And it might be an optical illusion. It might actually be invisible. Because, it's the Last Crusade. So, but he had to take that leap, and it is a lot about, the reward for being courageous and putting ourselves out there is big. And a lot of times we talk ourselves out of things, and it's really interesting how we do this. Like, I'm applying for a job, for instance, and I'm afraid of rejection, so I never actually apply for the job. Well, what's the worst that could happen? Yeah, they reject me. Well, I'm going to reject myself before they even get a chance to. That doesn't make sense either. So sometimes we have to put ourselves out there. The universe wants to support you, but first you need to leap, to throw your life up in the air. Perhaps you know what you are being called to leap forward to do, but are scared and to make that move. Or maybe perhaps you are waiting for a big fat sign or an instruction manual or permission to do so first. This really reminds me of, there's a lot of TikToks or Instagram Reels videos where it's somebody who's out there and they're exercising and they're just doing it, and it's amazing, right? And the music or the sound that's attached to it is like, nobody's coming. Nobody is coming to tell you what to do. Nobody is coming to make you do it. Nobody is here to make you do things that are better for you. Even the things that like we should be doing, or that society tells us that we should be doing. A lot of that stuff isn't even necessarily good for us. It's usually something that's, better for the person telling us that we need to be doing it than good for us. So what is it that you really want to do and that you need to leap into to do? I also feel like I said you had trust issues, because leaping into something. It reminds me of the Fool card. It's kind of like trusting your future self with future issues. Maybe you don't have it all planned out. Maybe you don't have it all, like, I can't see the end game here. I don't know how I'm going to get from this position to that end position. But I know I've got to move to do it, right? You know, you have to like take each moment or each step, and sometimes it's not linear. Sometimes we have a setback, and you have to expect that. That's just the way that life is. But some people are just so afraid to fail that they never even start. Don't be that person, because you are way, 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 way too powerful to be that person who is afraid to take that leap. Let's get some more cards out here to get a bigger picture of what's going on. These are, okay, 7 of Cups. You might be bombarded here with some choices. Ooh, the Lovers. Love that. I love the Lovers. Oh, okay. All right, Ace of Pentacles and Knight of Cups reversed. Okay, so I feel like you are afraid to make some choices because you're the emotions attached to it. You're afraid of maybe heartbreak. You know, we have the Lovers over here, and I feel like you need to trust. But the Knight of Cups is the card who wants to jump in, who loves the romance, who is like excited about it, who's excited about really more emotional, more feelings kind of things. When we've got the Lovers though, the Lovers does talk about that, but it can be more of a card of logic because it is connected to Gemini. The twins, it is connected to communication. So I feel like you need to bring some logic and some grounding into this. There are new beginnings here for you, especially when we've got the Ace of Pentacles. The Ace of Pentacles and the Lovers kind of speak towards being a little bit more logical. Maybe it is like exciting to take that leap, but you've done it before and you've had some heartbreak. Maybe that leap, there is so many different options available to you that you're not exactly sure what that leap is. An example of that might be like you're on a Tinder dating app and you have all of these different options coming at you, and it just kind of feels a little overwhelming. It might feel good in a sense because you have all of these options, but I feel like the law of resistance, the Merkaba, and the leap is like, hey, it's time to actually move on this. It's time to like stop sitting here and counting all of your eggs, and it's like hatch some chickens. Let's figure out where we're going with this, and let's make it really magical. The Ace of Pentacles is everything within that suit. It is all the possibility of it. It's very material. So it is kind of like bringing things out of the phase of like, this sounds like a good idea, this feels like it's a good idea, to actually doing it and putting it like in your hand, kind of things. And another example would be like, because like the Ace of Pentacles is material, it might be you realizing your dream body, for instance, because that's something that's very material. You realizing your dream job, for instance, that's something that's very material. Dream car, dream house, very material. But going back to your dream body, when you're bombarded with, hey, you should do keto, you should do CrossFit, you should do yoga, all of these different options and different paths in different ways, and you have all of these people who swear by them, but you obviously can't do all of them at once. It's time to start looking at these options and really deciding what is right for you. And the thing is that what is right for you is really like, there's not going to be a bad choice. Okay, so it might seem like there's like, you're afraid, or you're sitting here because you're going to make a bad choice, but you're not going to make a bad choice. First of all, You have the ability to look into it and very logically bring in information that you may not like really understand how you got it. You got it through the Akashic records. You got it. You just have like this knowing of, yeah, that's right for me. And I'm not exactly sure, but I know that logically, very much logically, very much bringing in that information, very much you might need to meditate on some things to allow kind of that flow. If meditation isn't your thing, start writing things down, and things might kind of come out of you that you're not really sure where that place is that it came from. That's okay. That's part of your power. That's part of your superpower. Just allow it and let it flow. Don't be resistant to it. We're flowing with this stuff, okay? Don't let your emotions hold you back, because I feel like that's what's happening here with the Knight of Cups reversed, that emotions are kind of holding you back. And if this is a love situation, the Lovers doesn't always mean that it's a love situation. The other interesting thing, remember we were talking about consciousness, like this higher up, this elevation of consciousness. The Lovers is very much a card about that, about leveling up, about that level up of consciousness, because, and here is why, and this is really fun, the Lovers is often predicted, or it's Adam and Eve usually on this card. And when we think about that story, what actually happened in the story of Adam and Eve? Well, psychologically, they gained a level of consciousness. They understood that they were mortal. And that is kind of like the difference, really, that's the difference between us and other beings on this world. We realized there is a tomorrow. We realized there is a future. We realized that if we go to school and graduate, that we will have skills that we didn't, and we can apply that to our life. No other animal does that. And there's a reason, because they live for now, they live for the moment, they live for today. But there is a certain level of consciousness that is involved for us to think about those types of things. And we have like upgrades in consciousness in our own life, where we look at situations and we reframe them. We see them in through different eyes. We have a different perspective. It's about gaining perspective. And you have that. When you stop and you start thinking about things, you start seeing a bigger picture. And that's what helps you here to make this leap, to make that choice, and to go towards the direction of your dreams, of your being. Now, when I'm talking about the Galactic Federation of Light, and I'm being very esoteric, when we're talking about the Akashic Records, and we're talking about different levels of reality and dimensions, we are here having this human experience. We're in the third dimension, and we cannot overlook that in the Ace of Pentacles. That's why I think it's here. It's here to help kind of ground us, to remind us that it's really, really important what we are doing right now and where we are. And even if you can bring in all of the information from all over the universe, or you have that ability to anchor in those higher dimensions here for Earth, which is really, really important to the ascension. Don't forget to have fun here in our physical world. Don't forget that you are a physical being right now in this physical body, and there are advantages to that as well. So, wow, that was really interesting. And I hope that you found that interesting as well. Very beautiful. You, again, like, what would you do if you couldn't fail? And that is what you need to be doing right now, Group 3, because you can't fail. So sending you lots of love. Thank you so much for being here with me. And I hope to see you in the next reading.